recall, is considerably smaller than the pool of men. But I have a concern that, and again this isn't for very broad dissemination, I have a real concern that women are much less likely to see judicial work as attractive if judicial work has to take place in an environment of threat. And I have a real concern that when one actually looks at the figures, that the number of women applying over the last year where posts have become available has diminished rather than improved. And that seems to me to be potentially the explanation. It's something that I would like to see change. In talking to the women who potentially might be candidates, all of them tell me that they do not want to see the merit principle disturbed. Nobody wants women appointed for the sake of being women. And no woman wants to be appointed on that basis. I can absolutely assure you of that. And therefore, I think that we have to do what we can to encourage more women to apply. And in due course, I think that we will eventually manage to deal with that, what I consider to be a serious issue. Yep.
I'm visiting from the Northern Irish Choirs, so you're aware that Paris is practicing the bar library rather than chambers. Firstly, I would like to know why that is, and secondly, is it time shade?
Well, the reason it happens is for the usual conservative reason, is the way it always happens. Should it change? Personally, I would be horrified if it were to change. One of the things that the library system has, well, two things the library system has done which I think have been of enormous importance in Northern Ireland. The library system effectively means that everybody who passes the exams and wants to become a barrister gets a shot at it. Nobody has ever failed to get, who has passed the exams, has ever failed to get a master, and after that, it's up to you to show that you're actually good enough to do the job. And if you stick at it and you are good enough at it, then the general view is that if you want to stay on, that you will get the work which enables you to stay on. Chambers operates in a completely different way, and if you talk to people who go through the chamber system in England, they'll tell you about this. If you don't get into, all work comes into chambers, so the clerk who runs the chambers holds all the briefs and decides who is going to get them. If you don't get into a set of chambers, you don't even get a start. And there are hordes of extremely able young people who are vigorously pursuing careers as best they can in England and Wales, but essentially what it means from their point of view is desperately trying to compete against others to get into chambers. We managed to, and I was part of the committee which dealt with what's called the Bain Report, which looked at all of this a few years ago. It was chaired by a chap called George Bain, who was a Vice-Chancellor of Queen's University. And we persuaded him that the way forward in Northern Ireland was to limit the number of places that were available, which I think is now about 30 a year for members of the bar. But the reason for doing that was to ensure that people from poorer socioeconomic backgrounds would have a chance at establishing a career at the bar. We did not want the bar to become a place for rich kids only. We were able to demonstrate historically that we had a range of QCs we had 5 QCs who had come from a very notorious secondary school in North Belfast. They would not have had a chance in England and Wales. They would never have got a start. They're all hugely successful now. None of them had any background in law. All of them are there on their merits. And we persuaded Bain, and he accepted, that the way forward in Northern Ireland was to ensure that you had a system where, whatever your background, if you really wanted to do it and you were good enough, then you would get a chance at the bar. Am I off the hook? Listen, thank you very much.
great to have a warm act of that calibre. And so where do I go from here? I know you came here to hear my summing up, and I'm not going to disappoint you, because I'm not going to sum. I wouldn't want to, and I dare not attempt to steal Sir Declan's thunder, for two reasons. Is that I probably would not succeed, and secondly, he's our guest and he's my boss. On behalf of myself and the union and all present, Sir Declan, I'd like to thank you for your very thorough and highly interesting and informative talk on those elements of the justice system ideals that you dealt with. I think the number of questions that you were faced with vouches the interest with which people enjoyed your talk. Justice being done and being seen to be done is probably the most important element in society as it pervades all aspects of our lives, in the workplace, in our family, at homes, etc. So in that sense, it is very, very important that this society has, as its Chief Justice, a man of the utmost integrity and ability who can deliver and oversee that justice prevails, and in that we certainly have Sir Declan Morgan. I would like to thank him for taking time from what is a very busy schedule to come here and do this. He is faithful to his old school, and we're all very proud of that. Mr. McGinley failed in his duty to mention that he's also a supporter of Derry City Football Club, which is very, very important. And his language on the terraces is probably not as rich as his language here today, but I'm not going to say anything about that. I'm not going to take you any longer. There's some tea and refreshments for people after this in your referee. For the lawyers here, just a little, I made a quick ex-parte application to our chief about CPD, and by implication indicated yes, it would be worth an hour, but I think because we've such a heavyweight lecturer here, it should be 2 hours. I'd now like to call on the head boy, who's going to make a quick presentation to his determined. Thank you very much. John?